Which road team has the best opportunity to pull an upset tonight? Because, guys, you look at these games. We got 4 games tonight. Alabama takes on South Carolina, right? And the first team I'm mentioning is the home team, right? So Alabama hosts South Carolina. Kentucky hosts Mizzou. LSU hosts Vandy. And Auburn hosts the Texas A&M Aggies. All 4 of those home teams are favored, and they're not favored by a small margin. Bama is an 11.5-point favorite over South Carolina. Kentucky is a 12.5-point favorite over Mizzou. LSU is an 8.5-point favorite over Vandy, and Auburn is a 7.5-point favorite over Texas A&M. It's an odd night with how deep the SEC is. It feels like it's somewhat odd to see a night with that many big spreads, right? I just don't see all of the home teams covering in these games. There's going to be somebody that emerges and pulls a big upset. Who is most likely? You first look at this game, Alabama and South Carolina. South Carolina been one of the best stories in the SEC to this point, what Lamont Paris is doing in year 2. Alabama, a team that had to survive, right? They had to survive in their first SEC game of the weekend, went to Vandy and only won that game, I believe, by 2 points. And Nate Oates talked about the struggles late, right? The struggles down the stretch. If we got to play better, we can't allow, a near collapse to happen yet again. Is it asking too much of South Carolina? Meechie Johnson, BJ Mack, Miles Studi, that entire crew. Is it asking too much of them to go into Tuscaloosa and pull off the upset? Or does South Carolina make a very loud statement, which I think they would? If South Carolina wins this game, guys, I think we got to start talking about the Gamecocks as one of the top 3 teams, top 5 teams in the SEC, right? They were 5th in our latest power rankings. We've got to seriously start having that conversation of, is South Carolina, a top-tier SEC program this year? Are the Gamecocks a real contender in the SEC? So Bama at 11.5. We're going to go through these really quickly, previewing the games, and I'll give you guys my take, biggest road upset, where it could happen. Kentucky minus 12.5 against Mizzou. Missouri looking to bounce back from that loss to Georgia. Kentucky, really close loss on the road against Florida. I thought was a great win, gritty win. I don't expect Kentucky to have much problem with Mizzou, right? So I don't know if it's that one. Vanderbilt's terrible. They got to go to LSU. LSU with that big win at Texas A&M. Can you count on LSU, though, to be that team? Which team shows up? Which version of the LSU Tigers shows up? And then, of course, Texas A&M and Auburn is the one that's really tricky. Guys, I think South Carolina falls to Alabama tonight. I don't know. They may cover. I would not be surprised. 11.5 feels like a lot for the way South Carolina has been playing. But it is SEC play. It's tough to go on the road and win and hang, especially with a really good team like an Alabama. So I think Bama wins. I don't know that they cover. I'd probably take South Carolina on the plus 11.5, but I do think Alabama will get the win. I think Kentucky is going to destroy Missouri. I think at home, I think things will be clicking for the Cats. I think the 12.5 is not enough. I think they will blow out Mizzou. LSU-Vandy's kind of interesting because you kind of feel like at some point Jerry Stackhouse's team is going to have a night where it all clicks. And, they've still got SEC caliber talent. They're so bad. They've been so terrible, but they almost beat Alabama, right? So obviously they've got some talented players on that team. And then again, LSU, what version of them shows up? I will not be surprised if Vandy covers this. I'll probably side with LSU in this game, but I will not be surprised if Vandy covers. And then finally, Auburn A&M. Guys, I think A&M as the road dog, you look at these games, I think this is probably the best opportunity for an upset to happen, right? I think this is probably your best opportunity. Texas A&M, Buzz Williams, a team, right? They got off to a rough start in SEC play. You got to think, right, that at some point they're going to cut it on. You got to think at some point, right? You lose to LSU on your home floor. Everybody is counting out Texas A&M. Auburn, obviously, with that really impressive win at Arkansas. It's 2 programs in 2 very, very different positions. But I would probably say that game in Auburn is the best chance for a road upset. I'm still going to pick Auburn in the game. I don't know if they cover. I think A&M could win it straight up. But I tell you this, too. Auburn's got one of the most intimidating atmospheres in college basketball. One of the most intimidating atmospheres. So it will not surprise me, though, if Texas A&M can combat that, but I will be picking Auburn in this game. So I'm picking all the home favorites. I like the home favorites tonight, but I think Texas A&M could be that team. If we got a big upset in the SEC, I think it could come at the hand of Buzz Williams and the Aggies.